Well, good morning. Good morning to those of you joining us in local time zones and Pacific time, and good afternoon to those of you in Eastern and Central Canada and other parts of the world. Thank you for being with us today. It's a huge day. My name is Bruce McAllister, and I'll be helping to guide us through this virtual press conference this morning. A special thank you as well to Premier Jason Kenney and Ministers Savage, Ministers Nixon, and from our federal government, Minister O'Regan and Minister Wilkinson, who've taken time out of their schedules to be with us today. Grateful that you've taken the time, and truly we mean it when we say we wouldn't be here today and in this position without the cooperation of the provincial and the federal governments. We're also going to hear from Jeff Pearson today from Wolf Midstream, a proud partner with the ACTL, the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line, and that is, of course, the line that delivers the CO2 that is sequestered in Clive, Alberta, and kept out of our atmosphere. And to our friends in the media, we want to let you know we'll make some time for questions at the end of the press conference today. I think our provincial officials may have to leave us for another event. We'll confirm that. But certainly Ministers O'Regan and Wilkinson will be here, as well as Kevin Jabush and Jeff Pearson from Wolf.
Somebody here.
Before we hear from the Premier, who I think I can hear here in the background, and our dignitaries, I'd like to introduce you to Kevin Jabush, the President and CEO of Enhance Energy. Kevin's going to give us some perspective on really what it is that we're celebrating today, how we got to this point, and the future. The sky is the limit for what we are capable here in Alberta, and frankly on a global stage as we capture carbon and produce low carbon energy. So with that, again, thank you for being here, and I will mask up and make way for Kevin.
Morning. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you all for joining us on this incredible day, and what a beautiful day we have in central Alberta. As you see this virtual background, actually it's a real background. It's a picture of our operations in central Alberta, showing one of our sequestration sites at Clive. So thank you all again for joining us on the incredible day, and thank you, Premier, as well, for taking time out to share in this news today, and to Ministers O'Regan and Wilkinson and Ministers Savage and Nixon, thank you. And we look forward to your comments. And Bruce was correct in stating that we wouldn't be here today without your support. So why are we here? Today we're here to celebrate the remarkable achievement of capturing 1 million tons of carbon dioxide that would have otherwise been released into our air. 1 million tons of carbon captured, compressed, transported, and sequestered. This is a remarkable feat. There's no question that Alberta's energy industry is undergoing significant change. We are learning we can do things differently and go further in improving our environmental footprint. The energy industry in Alberta that we envision can do more than just mitigate negative environmental impact. We see a way to elevate and enhance our industry. We can provide the world with the oil and gas needed to power our homes and our economy, and we can help change the narrative around our emissions and our processes. We can lead the way in charting a new path forward in Alberta. In fact, we already have. Enhance Energy has been quietly plotting a better path forward for Alberta's energy industry, and it is happening now on a couple of fronts. We are now capturing CO2 emissions before they hit the atmosphere. Our activities take CO2 emissions from the Northwest Redwater Refinery and the nutrient fertilizer plant in Alberta's industrial heartland, and sending those emissions down the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line, or the ACTL, to Clive, where we safely sequester that CO2 into the geology deep below the surface. 4,000 tons a day is just a start for the growing work of capturing and storing carbon straight from the source. The ACTL is certainly something for all Albertans to take pride in. There are 240 kilometers of pipeline transporting CO2 and putting it to good use. We are now 10 years into our work of having established the foundation of a world-class system, the largest of its kind, even as we face mounting challenges across our industry. Today, more than ever, we recognize the power of this system, and we are only scratching the surface of what we can do. Carbon capture and storage, or sequestration, CCS, is a process that has emerged as one of the key initiatives in helping to reduce our carbon footprint. And it is now proven and running right here in Alberta. The International Energy Agency and the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change recognize that much of the world cannot meet their emission reduction targets without large-scale CCS. But enhanced energy goes further. We're not only sequestering CO2, but we use it to further expand the capacity of energy production in Alberta. Through enhanced oil recovery, or EOR, we produce low-carbon oil by injecting CO2 in what would otherwise be depleted reservoirs. No other oil on the planet has a lower net carbon impact than the oil produced by using the kind of EOR processes we use. In 2020, we injected and sequestered the first ton of CO2, and we've now surpassed the 1 million ton mark. That is a remarkable feat, and we are just getting started. The IEA calls carbon capture a critical tool in the climate energy toolbox. Including the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line, there are 21 large-scale CCS projects in operation around the world. Alberta now joins the world with this critical tool available to us. Together, we can build a better way forward. It's been a decade of hard work to create this CO2 solution for our industry, and today we celebrate what Enhanced Energy has been working on. We celebrate with you as over 1 million tons sits deep underground and out of the atmosphere. We set out to be problem solvers over a decade ago, and will continue to help diversify and transition Alberta's oil and gas energy by doing what we do best. Enhanced Energy is ready to get the word out. This is good for Alberta, it's good for Canada, and it's good for our future. When sustainability starts to make economic and commercial sense, we know we've created a truly Canadian energy solution for long-term prosperity. Thank you.
Without further ado, I would like to introduce a man who I know has a very busy schedule, and thank him at the same time. Premier Kenney, thank you for joining us today, and I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much, Bruce, as well as Kevin and Jeff. So great to be here with Enhanced Energy and Wolf Midstream. Together with federal ministers O'Regan and Wilkinson, we welcome both of you virtually to Alberta, and Alberta ministers Savage and Nixon. So Enhanced Energy is another made in Alberta success story. This locally based energy development company is showing incredible leadership on emissions reductions through developing and utilizing cutting edge technology. And we've always said in Alberta that technology is going to be the solution to the challenge of reducing emissions. You've heard this already this morning, but it's worth repeating that Enhanced Energy has prevented 1 million tons of carbon dioxide from entering our air through carbon capture, utilization, and storage, or CCUS technology, and that's in less than a year. The carbon captured in Alberta's is captured, I should say, up in Alberta's industrial heartland, which is just east of us here in Edmonton, and transported through the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line to, as we've heard, the mature oil field near Clive, Alberta. It's another Alberta pipeline that actually helps reduce emissions. I just got to say this, like Keystone XL would have had it not been vetoed, but we'll just stay focused on this one. After reaching its destination, that captured CO2 is used to produce some of the lowest cost and lowest carbon energy in the world. This is the leadership Alberta is known for, and something we should be all terribly proud of. It's the innovation and entrepreneurship we see from Alberta companies on a regular basis, achieving significant environmental results while strengthening Alberta's economy and Canada's economy at the same time. Today's milestone would not have been achieved without the leadership and the vision of a former premier, Ed Stelmach, who did have that vision, the audacity, more than a decade ago, to invest in developing this technology here in Alberta and making our province a world leader on carbon capture, utilization, and storage. You know, Premier Stelmach faced a lot of critics and skeptics who dismissed this technology as an unproven science project. But now we have tangible proof that it can and does work. The costs of carbon capture and storage have been cut in half per ton since Alberta embarked on this plan over a decade ago. And now we see the rest of the world embracing the technology of which we have been leaders. So once again, thank you to Premier Stelmach and his administration for this vision. And now it was thanks to the financial support from Alberta's taxpayers and commitment from Alberta's government, as well as Enhanced Energy's leadership to take an entrepreneurial risk that brought this next step, this Alberta innovation, to life. With 10 years of the hard work and forward thinking that Albertans are known for, Enhance Energy created the world's largest carbon dioxide transportation network located right here in this province. And it's just the beginning. Wolf Midstream, who now operates the project, is looking to increase capacity on the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line in the years to come. Alberta's government shares this vision to expand this made in Alberta innovation in the coming years. And that's why we hope to partner with the Government of Canada to support large-scale industrial CCUS projects over the coming years as a game changer in reducing Canada's emissions. We're moving in the right direction by creating a working group with the federal government that will explore more ways to cut emissions while broadening and diversifying our economy and, most importantly, creating jobs in Alberta, all of this with CCUS. The working group will include officials from both the federal and provincial governments and will be advised by energy representatives from the industry as well as other experts. And I believe, in fact, they were on the phone late last night making progress, I should say, on collaboration on this critical technology. The task force will explore carbon capture and utilization storage opportunities and map out how Alberta and Canada can expand our role as a leader in emissions reducing technology. Alberta, because of our geology here, is one of the best places on Earth for CCS projects. Our combination of geography, science, and innovation give us a unique opportunity and a real edge on this technology. In fact, a recent study by the Boston Consulting Group said that Alberta and Canada have amongst the greatest potential for CCUS because of our geological formations. Alberta's taken considerable steps on commercial scale funding, on regulatory enhancements, and sharing knowledge on this tech. The new working group will keep the momentum going, and so will the project that we're here to celebrate today. The monumental accomplishment of keeping 1 million ton of CO2 out of the air is like taking 325,000 cars off the roads. It's another example of Alberta using innovative technology to remain a leader in producing energy while cutting emissions. Alberta's industries and businesses are known for constantly seeking out high-tech solutions that raise the bar for others, recognizing that innovation and energy, the environment, and economic prosperity go hand in hand. Alberta has been hit very hard by the pandemic, by the global recession, and the largest ever reduction in energy prices. But while our province is overcoming these big obstacles, we're also preparing our economy for the future with innovations like carbon capture, utilization, and storage to support emission reduction and efficient energy production. Alberta's government understands that the path forward lies with practical solutions like the types of technology and innovation that we're working here on in our province right here. This is the approach needed in order to create real emissions reductions, protect livelihoods, keep industry competitive, while allowing Alberta to attract the investment that we need to prosper. So congratulations to Enhance Energy and your partners at Wolf Midstream, to the Northwest Redwater Sturgeon Refinery and the Nutrien Redwater Fertilizer Facility for this big win. I look forward to the rest of the presentations, and Bruce, I will try to stick around for questions as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Premier. That's good to know, and great message. Tough to top any of that. You know, I was thinking before I introduced the next speaker, one of the positives of the virtual world that we live in right now is that we're able to put a lot of people together for an important news conference like this, and to see you, Premier, and then to be able to introduce Canadian Natural Resources Minister Seamus O'Regan right behind you to make some comments is just a real treat, in that both of you had such a hand in this project. So with that, I'd like to indeed invite the Canadian Natural Resources Minister Seamus O'Regan to make some comments.
Bruce, let me say right off the top, I would have flown out for this one. I think there are enough people who are watching and listening to know that, because this is a big deal, a very big deal. And I want to thank you. I want to thank Kevin and Jeff. Thank the Premier for being here. Minister Savage, Minister Nixon. It's a pleasure for Minister Wilkinson and I to be here. I am joining you from the island of Newfoundland. Good afternoon. This is the ancestral homeland of the Mi'kmaq and Beothuk, and it is one of Canada's 3 oil-producing provinces. This is a big deal. 1 million tons of permanently stored carbon. 1 million tons, as the Premier said, the equivalent of emissions from 325,000 cars. There were those who dismissed a carbon trunk line as a myth, who said that it wasn't possible to build the largest pipeline of its kind in the world to capture carbon in one place and to whisk it some 240 kilometers away, to inject it into the ground, to enhance oil recovery, and then ultimately to be left buried there permanently. But, you know, of course, the same people said the same thing about trying to get oil out of sand. But Albertans persevered, just like they have time and again, and proved the naysayers wrong, busted the myths, figured out how to get oil out of sand, and make Canada the 4th largest oil and gas producer in the world. Today's accomplishment is so important. Not only does it significantly lower Alberta's greenhouse gas emissions, it's showing Alberta's leadership, an example for the rest of the country, an example around the world, demonstrating what is possible, I think, with some ingenuity, a lot of determination, and hard work. And I'm glad that the Premier recognized Premier Stelmach for his vision back then. As you know, as he said, people were calling it a science project, when in fact, right now today, we know this is just the starting point. This can support everything from a regional hub for low carbon hydrogen production to the mass electrification of the provincial economy. It's stacking benefit on top of benefit. And all of this matters because CCUS will help get us to net zero emissions by 2050. In fact, the International Energy Agency estimates that it could account for 12% of cumulative global emissions reductions by 2050, particularly in industrial sectors that are crucial to our national economy, like the oil and gas sector in Alberta. CCUS creates new products, new revenues from things like synthetic fuels, chemicals, building materials. Bill Gates touched on all of this last week when he was in Houston to kick off CERA Week, of course, which is the largest international gathering of the oil and gas industry. He said, in effect, that we need our oil and gas workers to save our planet. Talking about carbon capture, about leveraging the ingenuity and the skills of our proud energy workers to produce net zero hydrogen, to refine large quantities of new biofuels, and even drill the deep repositories where nuclear waste would be buried. Alberta and Canada will lead the way, starting with CCUS and what is already one of the fastest growing clean tech sectors and a multi-billion-dollar global industry. We are home to 4 of the world's 25 large-scale CCUS projects. We are a leading innovator, adopter, and supplier of CCUS technologies, and we boast an abundance of the geological formations to dramatically expand our efforts with CO2 storage. Real opportunities to grow the economy, real opportunities to create jobs, to expand our exports, to lower emissions, and by lowering emissions, increasing our competitiveness. CCUS is at the heart of Canada's strengthened climate plan. We've included a direct call to, and I quote, develop a comprehensive CCUS strategy and explore other opportunities to help keep Canada globally competitive in this growing industry, end quote. Today's part of that too, which is why I'm proud to announce the launch of the new Alberta-Canada CCUS Steering Committee, deepening our collaboration to build a low emissions future that leverages the expertise and know-how of our proud energy workers, led by federal and provincial deputy ministers, and aimed at supporting commercial scale CCUS projects. I'm excited to join them for their first discussion because this matters, working together, Alberta and Canada, to achieve a common goal and lead the world. That matters. So I want to congratulate you, Kevin, and the team at Enhance Energy, and Jeff and his team at Wolf Midstream for leading, for showing the way, for defying the odds. So let's double down on our common mission, net zero emissions by 2050, a national economy that continues to grow and prosper, and a low emissions future that leaves no one behind. It's a lot, it's ambitious, but we're Canada, and that's what we do. Thank you. Back to you, Bruce.
Thank you very much, Minister O'Regan, and I can assure you, as you make those comments, the people in this building and buildings just like it in Calgary, they are indeed up for it, and very excited about this announcement today and what the future holds. Let's go to Alberta Energy Minister Sonia Savage, who is with us today as well to make some comments. Minister Savage.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a very big pleasure to be here today to celebrate a major win for Alberta, to celebrate Enhance Energy and the carbon trunk line, to celebrate their storage of a remarkable amount of carbon dioxide. And congratulations to Enhance Energy, as well as your partners at Wolf Midstream, the Northwest Redwater Sturgeon Refinery, and the Nutrien Redwater Fertilizer Facility. Not only is your project cutting emissions in Alberta, but it maximizes production from a mature oil field by using the CO2 in enhanced oil recovery activities. As we celebrate this major step, I'd also like to draw attention to Alberta's impressive Quest project. That's a $1.35 billion project supported by provincial and federal funding. The Quest project has captured and stored more than 5 million tons of CO2 since 2015. Between the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line and the Quest projects, Alberta has invested more than $1.2 billion towards CCUS efforts. This has garnered interest from both private companies and other governments from around the world, other governments who are looking for the future development and use of CCUS. These projects, along with others around the world, have proven that CCUS technology works. And it's proven that Alberta is among the global leaders in unlocking this technology. These projects are also a prime example of Alberta's entrepreneurial spirit in action. When there's a problem to solve, we're not waiting for others to show us the way. That's how we do things in Alberta. We lead. In fact, we're usually at the front of the line. We're leading the way with solutions and new ways of doing things, and propelling CCUS forward is no exception. As my colleagues have highlighted today, CCUS technology represents an exciting opportunity for both Alberta and for Canada, an ability to reduce emissions while encouraging economic development. As a member of the Global CCS Institute, Alberta is already part of a network that provides access to reports and discussions about the status of carbon capture projects and policy from around the world. This work, plus our strong industry experience, proven technology, provincial and federal funding opportunities, and the right geology here in Alberta to store carbon dioxide, is a winning combination for our province. We want to share our expertise with others and ideas with Canada and with the world. We want to explore new ways to make the most of CCUS and other emissions reduction technologies. That's why, as the Premier mentioned, we recently announced a federal-provincial working group that will explore opportunities with a focus on CCUS technology. This collaboration will further develop and apply CCUS here at home, and that will contribute to emissions reductions around the world. This will reinforce our leadership on environmental, social, and governance factors and responsible energy production. As a pioneer in CCUS development, Alberta has a lot of expertise to offer, and we look forward to sharing and building this with the working group. And thank you to Minister O'Regan for working with us to stand this important work up. The CCS working group will mirror the same approach Enhance Energy took to make its project a success. Industry and government working together, rising to new challenges and thinking for the future. So congratulations once again to Enhance Energy and its partners on this remarkable achievement. We've certainly come a long way since the first agreements on the Alberta Trunk Line and the Quest projects. We've come a long way since those agreements were signed, and we're just getting started. So thank you today, and thank you all for being here.
Yeah, great point, Minister Savage. Thank you. We've come a long way, and we're just getting started. Reflecting on Kevin's comments as we kick this off, suggesting we are scratching the surface at what we are capable of. Indeed, a reminder to those of you in the media that we will make some time afterward for questions. So we've got a couple of ministers to hear from before that, and I want to go to another Canadian minister, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Jonathan Wilkinson, for some comments today. Minister Wilkinson.
Great. Thank you very much, Bruce, and thank you certainly for the opportunity to be here today with a range of dignitaries, including my counterpart in Alberta, Premier Kenney, Premier Savage, of course, Premier Nixon, and my colleague, Minister O'Regan. I am joining you from the real west coast of Canada in North Vancouver, BC, and the place where I am calling from is located on the traditional territories of the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. As I reflect on this milestone and on climate change more generally, a line from Mark Twain comes to mind. Everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. Tout le monde parle de la météo qu'il fait, mais personne ne fait rien. In Twain's day, it was absurd to suppose that humans could do anything about the weather. But today we understand that we can, and effectively these days we must. It is critically important that we confront climate change in a comprehensive way using all of the tools at our disposal. That is certainly the thrust of Canada's strengthened climate plan that the Prime Minister and I announced in December. It attacks the emergency of climate change on all its fronts, utilizing a combination of strategic investments, regulation, and a price on pollution. And we know that more is needed. That is why we are consulting provinces and territories on ways to increase our collective level of ambition. Working alongside the United States, Canada will soon be bringing forward a more ambitious emissions reduction target and the means to achieve it. Today represents an important milestone on moving forward on such a broad plan that includes a mix of technologies and regulations that will help us to reduce emissions. This milestone and this technology provide proof of the concept that large-scale carbon abatement can be technically and economically feasible. The fact that the economics can work is and will be a product of a price on greenhouse gas emissions, a combination of Alberta's technology innovation and emissions reduction regulations and the federal price on carbon, and of course the Clean Fuel Standard. This milestone provides proof of concept of what we can do and what can happen when governments and industry put aside differences and work towards a common goal. Cette étape fournit également une preuve de ce qui peut arriver lorsque les gouvernements et l'industrie mettent de côté leurs différences et travaillent ensemble vers un objectif commun. I am very optimistic that the new Alberta-Canada CCUS Steering Committee that was announced by Premier Kenney and Premiers O'Regan and Savage will provide a means to take that spirit of partnership and collaboration that we're marking here today to the next level. In recent years, Canadian governments have committed close to $1.8 billion to carbon capture, utilization, and storage initiatives, including the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line. The Alberta government has also made very significant investments, as has the private sector. We are here today to confirm that this technology can generate a positive return for workers and communities in Alberta and elsewhere, for the bottom line of the companies involved, right down through the supply chain, and a return on investment for our planet and the promise of a sustainable, secure, and better future for our children and our grandchildren. Finally, this project underscores two fundamental truths of climate technological innovation as we move forward. First, as a former cleantech CEO myself, I would emphasize that technology is not a silver bullet, nor is it in and of itself a climate plan. But technology, properly supported and incented, can be a very important part of a comprehensive climate plan. Second, we must pursue innovation in climate technology in ways that engage communities and are geared towards social and economic goals, as evidenced by the way in which this project is assisting Alberta workers and communities to leverage the opportunities that are presented by a transition to a low carbon future. Again, very much congratulations to all those involved in reaching this milestone. Encore une fois, félicitations à tous ceux qui ont participé à cette importante réalisation. I certainly wish you accelerated success as you move towards your next million tons, and certainly many more millions for decades to come. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here today.
Minister Wilkinson, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. And we do have another minister to hear from this morning as well. The Minister of Environment from Alberta is with us, and Jason Nixon is going to join us for a few comments as well. Minister Nixon.
Well, thank you, Bruce, for having me today, and thank you to all my colleagues for joining us today on a very special day. It's great to have the opportunity to join all of you today to celebrate Alberta's and Canada's continued leadership on a very exciting technology. This milestone is certainly something to celebrate. As we've heard today, Enhanced Energy has captured and stored over 1 million tons of carbon dioxide in less than a year. If this is how far one CCUS project can come in about 8 months, think of the incredible potential this project and others like it have going forward. Enhance Energy is part of a growing number of companies investing in CCUS and other leading edge technologies to cut emissions, stay competitive, and create skilled jobs for Albertans. One of the main ways Alberta's government is supporting these types of investments is through the Technology Innovation and Emission Reduction Fund. Last fall, I was pleased to announce that $750 million from the TIER fund was being invested into emission-reducing technologies. These funds will support projects in methane emission reduction, energy efficiency, and of course, CCUS. This includes $80 million for our industrial energy efficiency and CCUS grant programs for large emitters. And an additional $9.5 million from the TIER fund is supporting several CCUS projects delivered through our partners at Emission Reduction Alberta that are creating jobs and cutting emissions. All told, investments from the TIER fund will create 9,000 jobs and inject $1.9 billion into Alberta's economy, all while helping our world-class industry to develop groundbreaking technologies to meet our environmental goals. Albertans are innovators, and CCUS is no different. I want to highlight two exciting technologies that are being tested at the Alberta Carbon Conversion Technology Centre right here in Calgary, Alberta. Carbon Corp received $3 million from the ERA for its carbon nanotube technology, and Edmonton-based Calgary Power, who are investors in Carbon Corp, also plan to build the world's first commercial-scale carbon nanotube technology production facility at its Genesee Power Station. These are great examples of the future of CCUS in our province. CCUS not only plays a role in reducing emissions for our existing industries, it's also a key part of producing clean hydrogen, an industry that presents major opportunities. We've reached a point where CCUS technology is now being applied to a variety of sectors to reduce emissions, from fertilizer and concrete production to oil sands and petrochemicals. This technology is making a difference in emissions reduction across our economy. Alberta industries have an excellent track record for innovation and environmental stewardship, and today's announcement is another chapter in that story. Enhance Energy's project is Alberta innovation in action, and we're very proud of its success so far. We know that innovation is Alberta's way forward. By investing in technology and empowering our world-class industry, we are building on our expertise for the future of our economy. As we develop a path to economic recovery, CCUS technology will play a critical role in the future. I want to applaud Enhance Energy and its partners for this major step. You're not only reducing emissions, you're changing how business is done in Alberta and proving to those on the fence about CCUS that this technology really does work. Congratulations again on this milestone. I look forward to watching your project continue to thrive in the coming years. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Bruce.
Mr. Nixon, thank you so much for those comments, and nice to hear you talk about job creation. It's such a splendid part of all of this, and as many of you have referred to this morning, the economy and the environment working together. It's time for some questions now. We'd like to invite the media to